Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and we're doing another check-in with Chris and what he's up to. And I have a plan today for something to try to do. I would like to at least get a start on getting Reaper to work with my control surface. So I'm going to fiddle around with some stuff for a moment here. I always like to pop out the chat into a place where I can more conveniently see it. That doesn't mean anybody will chat, but if you do, I want to see you. And the thing I'm going to be trying to work with is this. This is the labeling I was talking about in the other video for the control surface. What we've got here is a combination of things. Pans, low pass, high pass, compressing is color-coded white. Let me adjust my... Okay, that's about as bright as I can get it. I actually have a light for that, but I'm not really concerned with that right now. My sends are over here. Send A, B, C, and D, and those are color-coded blue, which I think is accurate to an SSL desk. And then we've got a brown, blue, green, and red joystick, and those are the EQs. And brown is for bass, blue is for low mid, green is for high mid, and red is for treble. Red is also for my discontinuity knob, and that doesn't exist in SSLs. And green is also for gate, and that does come from SSLs. Also, we've got these threshold controls. And again, that is color-coded to what an SSL is doing. Although up here, we've got air, fire, and stone. And those don't exist in an SSL, so they're color-coded something else. I've got air as yellow, fire as orange, and stone as purple, because those things don't exist in an SSL console. And then we've got these colored faders, and they're not meant to go to a single track. Even though I've got 12 of these here, I don't want to do 12 tracks and be restricted to that. What I'd like to do is have it so I can jump into Reaper, assign colors to a track, and here's some that I'm getting an option of. And you might or might not be able to see that I've got the controls, the faders, assigned to this combination of colors. For instance, I could color code this drum track as white. And then if I select it here, you'll notice that I can turn, say, you can't see it all that well, but here is my high mid control, and it's the joystick. And if you look at this, you'll see that, actually you can't see that either, can you? Let me move the window over. And if I adjust the high mid control, you see that it adjusts both of these things. Up and down is boost and cut, and then my frequency is side to side. And my hope is that I can dial in tones quicker that way. But you'll also notice, like here's a blue fader, and it's not changing anything. Although I have assigned the fader number 12 to whatever is set at the moment. You can see that moving the thing, but that's temporary. Oh, and also our pan. So a lot of this stuff is assigned. I believe I've even got the auxes it's going to do the first AUX send and call that send A, and then the second one I have, whatever that might be, will be send B, and so on and so forth. But none of this means all that much if I can't get this part to work the way I want. And the idea is, let's see. So set tracks to custom color red, which I think is actually a full-on, it doesn't necessarily look like it here, but if it's selected, it'll make it a little lighter. What I'd like to do is set this up so that if you assign tracks to colors, this fader controls all of the tracks of that color, and to have them independently operate, well, I've got a nice cup of herbal tea here. It's a little too hot for me still. The idea is that I should be able to assign colors to tracks, and then there is a Reaper script that constantly scans these, and if I've moved one of these faders, it will set fader in every track that has been set red to this amount. And then if I need to have the individual tracks be of different volumes, well, this turns out to be like a subgain. Can't really see it very well, but if I do this, you can see that fire and, actually I didn't catch stone with that, did I? Fire and stone on the control have now been set to 0. And if I do the same thing with air, it doesn't matter what the fader is set to, there will be no output. So, and those settings are individual to tracks. So it's essentially, I can fiddle with fire, air, and stone to sort of do a submix for a category of tracks that are color-coded red, for which I have a fader. And if I move the fader, or say here's yellow, if I move the fader, and they're lovely long-throat faders too, I'll be able to set the fader value for the plugin for every single one contained within that group. And then each of them are going to have Stonefire working as a kind of submix level, and I can use my compression and so on as well for that. And that's going to produce something where if I start throwing lots of tracks around, because I mean, the whole point of this is to start working with things where it makes at least a nod to modern styles of recording and tracking in your modern DAW, your friendly neighborhood DAW. Hang on a second. Why do I have Twisted Wave open? I have it open because I was measuring tracks using the new version of Meter. So this is coming out next weekend. I think it's ready to go. And before let's jump in here to unrated. Pick something. Here's a Jimi Hendrix track that I absolutely cannot be playing on stream, so I'm not going to. But I can content hide it. And I'll go through this, and then we'll get back to Reaper and dealing with that. It's probably going to play audio. Maybe it won't. No, it will. So here's the new meter that's coming out this weekend. What it's doing is working pretty much the same up here, except for these are now half height. The green dots are larger if they are louder in the peaks category. And what that does is if you have a big heavy bass note, it will show up at the top of this meter. But it's still a peak measurement, it's not an RMS measurement. You're looking at bass peaks when you're looking at that. And you can sort of evolve a way of making sense of getting sounds to work by studying other kinds of sounds. We've got our over slew and our clip here. And slew is doing the same. It's arranged by frequency rather than arranged by loudness. But in slew, all of our red dots are now larger and easier to see. And the purpose for that is slew is where you're going to want to care what's going on there. You can still see them appear, but the red dots are larger in slew because those are the ones you're paying attention to in slew. Then the zero cross meter is, again, dealing with loudness and associating things with loudness for a larger dot, but down here is new. This is the chart with the sonority, which is blue dot density, novelty, which is their range, as in taking up this much space or taking up this much space. You can read what it says here and see that you've got room to turn things up about a dB or two to move all of these closer to the top, because again, this is for working in the modern world. We might not be clipping and limiting everything like crazy, but there's no real reason to leave the audio unused unless you have a quiet section happening. And then lastly, green, that's our final score. In this case, it has been assigned to AF, which I'm categorizing as legendary. It's beyond even forceful and powerful and stuff, and it's like an epic grade of sonic intensity. There is one level above that, which I'm calling transcendent. And the idea here, and we've still got our bright, sonority, and dark for the what the actual peaks are, the distribution of them. When you get a sort of bluish green color in here, that means that it is leaning on the bright side of things, which is actually a pretty classic hit record tone right there. If it is purely green, it's kind of poppy. If it is loud and intense, but extremely dark to black, that's another form of hit record tone, but it's like a rock style, underground style hit record rather than the very poppy green comes from when you've got the red line way above the blue line. Dark means the blue line is way above the red line. I've spelled out what both of those do here. So essentially, if you have a lot of range and a lot of dynamics and crest factor inside the sound, think like B-52s or Talking Heads or something, then it's going to be a very poppy, bright open sound thing. Whereas if you have something that's leaning on being really loud and sonorous, there's lots of density, but very little novelty. It's all crammed together into a solid, dense cloud of blue up there. And that's a more rock-like sound. That's a heavier sound. Now I'm going to go and label that now as AF, because that's the thing that I've been doing, is going through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things. Like I can give you an example here. Here is a police track that I'll go through. And after this, I think I'll return to Reaper. So when we do this one, this is Driven to Tears. If you look at the waveform, you see that there's a lot of space in this. This is a lot of dynamicism, like the edges are full crank. So rather than being a sausage, this has loads and loads of dynamic range, lots of crest factor. And you see it here. We've got some loud stuff here, and then it gets quiet again. And our audio cloud is filling up this much space, although the amount of blue dots we're throwing around is such that they kind of match. I've also seen this happen in Led Zeppelin tracks when these three lines are very close together. But what's probably going to happen for some of this stuff is that the red line's going to jump way up above the blue line, meaning it's going to be, I don't know, less dense, more choppy, more going on without feeling really saturated and full. It's probably a good sign that the green line is coming in above the other two lines, although one of the things that means is it is balanced. Look at where bright and dark are. It's got some deep bass, it's got some shiny brights, it's not all sonority, but it is balanced. That is useful for a hit record sound. Having some of all the kinds rather than being only dark or only bright. Although some recordings, some hit records do use just only bright. Fair bit of the Mott Lange stuff and a number of other things like In Excess, for instance, are very strongly bright. Other stuff like Fleetwood Mac or old 60s tracks are all about the dark. And you see a story being told in the loudness up here. We've gone into this very open section. Bright sounds, these red dots, are not the loudest sounds. The loudest sounds are sonorous sounds with an apparent loudness to them. But when you got glittery little stuff is about 12 to 18 dB down. And it shows you that's happening. So this is again coming out this coming weekend. There is stuff like it already out. Like you've already got a version of this. I'm just going to put out the newest version and then hopefully I can run with what I've learned here. And here is our excellent outro for Driven to Tears. And you see that as it kicks in, it goes brighter and the red line goes higher than the blue line, meaning that there's more activity happening rather than just being a dense cloud of loud. And that brings us to the end of this track. And I will close out Twisted Wave, which is what I use for this stuff, and write BD on the Police track Driven to Tears. Right here. These are the ones I've yet to measure. 463 yet to measure, but I've been working. And check it out, 669 that I have measured, and this is them in order, categorized. You will see that you can still get a hit record at all different levels. The thing is that zoom is not a derivative of meter. Zoom is a piece that goes into a plugin I'm calling mastering that I must test out before getting it. Grens, if you got a track on AA Absurd in the Novelty, that means you're working at like B-52s, Talking Heads, like Parliament Funkadelic, choppy, lots of things happening kind of thing. It's good if that's what you want to do. That's why I am making this and testing it out in the way that I am. You can see that I've been measuring things like crazy and I have new categories for it all. Categories go transcendent for the most super intense. Right now, there are very few. I got the Beatles' Lovely Rita, a Beauty Pill track, Dead Kennedys, Foo Fighters, James Brown, Kingdoms, of course James Brown, but interestingly, it's not James Brown singing. It is a James Brown instrumental track, but it's in the same time period as his biggest hits. And The Pretenders, Middle of the Road, and Zappa. And then moving on to AB, A to AD all counts as transcendent. You don't get a special thing for getting to AA. Planet Claire, a couple of Deadmau5 tracks, even though they are from CD, it still legitimately gets to an AB rating. And one of them is really loud, it's Professional Griefers, and the other one is really quiet, Telemus Communications. But it's got that kind of busy textural thing going on. Then we have Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life. That's not a joke. It did in fact measure that. It measured like one of the very highest ranking ones, and the reason is because it is vocal up, and it is being sung passionately. Now, you might not be passionate about the same things Debbie Boone is, but fair. You can't fault the conviction. Right next to Debbie Boone is Judas Priest, Living After Midnight. That is also sung passionately and performed passionately. Prince, Let's Go Crazy. Formerly, Prince was next to Debbie Boone, which would have made Debbie uncomfortable, I think. XTC, This Is Pop. We got Yes Is Close to the Edge, which is currently the highest ranking Yes I've got. Although, again, I've got hundreds more to evaluate. And Zappa Beastie Boys, Sure Shot, which is one of their CD tracks, the one I've got from CD. A batch of different Beatles, a fair bit of which is from Sgt. Pepper's, which is not surprising. Actually, other Sgt. Pepper's is going to, well, Lovely Rita is Sgt. Pepper's and it rated AA. Yeah, Taxman, some White Album. Boards of Canada and Burial start showing up. Def Leppard now starts showing up in AC. But beyond this transcendent section, which is what I consider like no matter, you can play any of these to literally anybody and they will at least get that it's something amazing. They might not like it, but they will get that it is something. Move past AD into AE and AF, and we have Legendary, which is led off by AC/DC's Back in Black, and Let There Be Rock, and You Shook Me All Night Long. It comes right in at AE. And that's because it is not quite as overwhelmingly transcendent as the other stuff. We've got a bunch of Beatles in here too. But it's beyond forceful. Like very intense. Also Aerosmith's Back in the Saddle and Walk This Way, and one of my previous highest rating B-52s. The new measurement is giving more consistent ratings to things. It's working harder to get stuff repeatable and consistent rather than trying to do a overall value, which is not really, it didn't really work. So all the ratings have now changed. And this is what all the ratings are now. For instance, now we have Chuck Berry's, Johnny B. Good, and Maybelline both showing up in AE. We've got a batch of Dan Kennedys. Here's a batch of Dead Kennedys all showing up in AE. A couple of Creedence, another Deadmau5, another Def Leppard. We've got a couple of Devo tracks, interestingly, and a couple of Eagles. A couple of Foreigner tracks. Things are starting to line up in the same categories. The idea is it is finally actually being able to look at stuff, look at bands, for instance. Here is 5 Rolling Stones tracks, all showing up as AE. AE counts as legendary. It counts as this track or this band is putting out so much energy, force a character, that it's really going to stand the time. And pretty much literally everything here has been able to stand the test of time. Occasional exceptions, like some of this James Brown is his B-tier tracks. They didn't actually chart. Charting is yellow, red, or orange in this mark here, and I've charted as many things as I could. For instance, in this 5 Rolling Stones tracks, 4 of them charted, and the 5th did not. Here's another Pretenders track. It also charted. The Who, and so on and so forth. And then AF, again, still legendary, but we start getting slightly less in the way of overwhelming force. We've got Beastie Boys, but not off of the CD this time. We've got a batch of Beatles, but it's not quite as transcendent as the previous Beatles. You'll just have to get used to it and trust the fact that it's assigning these grades as relating to something. We've got some Credence showing up in AF, again, still legendary. Depeche Mode off of a CD, some more Deadmau5, a couple of different Eagles. No, it shouldn't be, because now it is tracking all of these factors dynamically. Previously, when I ran the meter, it would have like loudness only going up and not down. And now everything is trying to, it's been reprogrammed quite a lot. Here's some Steppenwolf, both of the Steppenwolf tracks that I had handy, both of them lined up as AF. It's the same band, it's the same energy level, roughly, and it's resulting in basically the same result. Then as we go down to BA, forceful. BA and BB count as forceful, and these tracks are the ones at that point, and I've got a whole batch of tracks from Beauty Pills. Beauty Pill describes things as they are. And it rates very highly, although the one that I rated as the very highest is doing that when it's doing the sort of full Beauty Pill thing of this phantasmagoric cascade of sounds, which Chet Clark is actually quite good at doing. And these are more normal, and they would be rating higher if this was not a modern CD. This is a very modern release. It's well within the realm of loudness war and was mastered by Emily Lazar in such a way that it is not going against the trend of loudness war. All of this stuff clips and distorts like mad and still rates this high because the sound of the band communicates the novelty factor, and it leaves enough space inside the mix. Again, BA and BB, forceful. We've got a whole bunch of stuff showing up there. BC and BD count as powerful, and we've got a batch of Eagles tracks altogether, counting as powerful, but not so much, and Hotel California is finally showing up as a fairly high rating track. I've also got Elvis Costello. One of the things I would like to do is start putting these out on the internet again with a meter showing what's inside them, as it were, what the peaks and things work on, but I'd also like to do a subtle remastering and adjust the peaks to target what I think they should. For instance, if I was going, well, here's one. If I was remastering Journey, I would be boosting the volume a little bit. Off of the record, the amount of peaks it has available in its like late 70s mix is so extreme that like little spikes on the occasional drum will go way beyond everything else. I can quite reasonably soft saturate those away, and it'll still sound excellent, if not better. And it should not be rating only as BC powerful. It clearly should show up as legendary. We know this song. And modern remasterings are certainly going to be louder than what you get off of the original record, but what I've got is what's off of the original record, and it only goes up to BC because it needs to be a little brighter, it needs to be a little louder, it needs to be a little bigger. And then it should sound absolutely amazing, rather than amazing and kind of relaxing. Because sometimes the original vinyl of these things, it got remastered because it sounded nice, but kind of relaxing. And people wanted more out of them. BE to BF, rather than simply being powerful, BE to BF are groove. See, we got a Stevie Wonder, Sir Duke. Sir Duke registers as groove rather than powerful or forceful or anything. These are the ones that are a little relaxed. Here's the Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys by Traffic. Feels a little relaxed. It has groove rather than being like beats you up with loudness and intensity. Here is Crosby, Stills & Nash, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. If I was remastering that one, I would get the bass working a little better. because the bass is extremely overwhelming. But it comes across as groove. Donald Fagen, which I don't believe I can do a video on because I don't think he lets you, comes across as groove because it is so open. Here's another one that I have enjoyed a long time, James Taylor's Mexico. Great track. It could probably come across as powerful or forceful because there is a kind of intensity in it, but it's not reading as that because the mastering of the vinyl record is soft and quiet enough that it doesn't show up. I don't think any of my CDs come across... Oh, I am wrong. Burial etched head plate shows up as CB. CA to CF is serene. And sometimes that makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. Like, I Keep Forgetting by Michael McDonald. That's got some intense playing on it, but it comes across as serene. Steely Dan off of Katie Lied always comes off as serene. Police, every little thing she does is magic. It's sparking and it has a lot going on and it's a top 10 hit. But it still legitimately works as a serene feeling mix. It's not trying to be like, okay, legendary, overwhelming, all the power in the world, because you don't always want to go for that. Maybe you want it to, here's Wild Horses. Maybe you want it to feel natural, serene, chill, Here's one that it definitely always rates very low on this energy rating, and it is the Eagles' New Kid in Town. They're not singing very loudly on this track. They're kind of crooning it, and here's Deadmau5 Faxing Berlin, which is very, very loud compared to the rest of them. But its loudness combines with other parts so that rather than having a lot of choppiness and energy in it, it's just kind of smoothly, extremely loud and dense. And so it ends up being serene feeling rather than exhausting. Weirdly, Bowie's Ashes to Ashes also comes across as that, and that's interesting. Although right next to it, Christopher Cross Sailing, yes, that gets rated serene. It would be broken if it wasn't being rated serene. And let's see, so To CF still counts as serene. Genesis' Horizons, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world that would be serene. Steely Dan, East St. Louis, Toodaloo. Sting, Love is the Seventh Wave, that is somewhat affected by the fact that there is enormously loud drum transients right in the middle of it. Eagles, Best of My Love, that falls under the category serene again. And then DA to FF, there's almost nothing left down here, and I called these ones calm. Bad Sneakers is so serene, it's calm. Some of these Burial tracks are just ambient space. Some of this Marvin Gaye stuff very much counts as calm feeling. Eagles, I can't tell you why. There's almost nothing going on and it's very, very quiet. Crosby, Stills and Nash Guinevere, yep, comes across as calm. Little Tangerine Dream here and there, that's very spacey German school electronica, and that also registers as calm. And this is what you are getting this coming weekend. And then I will move on to work on all the other stuff I got to work on. But for now, that's a little glimpse as to what's going to be happening. And this is, excuse me, our little glimpse into how we get some of this stuff working. Let's see now. Oh, I have to have Reaper selected so I can move the low mid control, and the low mid parameters are altering. And hopefully I will be able to dial some of this stuff in effectively using the control surface there. But there is that final bit, and I don't know whether I can effectively close this or not. If I go to the Actions menu, we've got these scripts. So fader by parameter. I think this might actually be the one that I got help with. And yep, see, I have to do the GUI of all of that and everything too. But before I do that, I want to get this part working, or at least I want to get it started, because again, yes, you can see that Console X does exist. Yes, when it comes out, you will have access to the raw, no GUI VST, because I'll make that available. But most people won't want to use this. Most people will want to hit the UI button and have it do something, have like pretty knobs and things. Also, I have to go and get some little cards and draw like banks of controls. For instance, maybe I need to have like the gate controls here as a little block that's fairly consistent in orientation, so that if you make it all very vertical, it'll reflow so that you got like this block, which is the compressors, and then this block under them rather than to the side of them, because all of our window arrangements aren't going to be the same. And I can start with this. I can start with the arrangement that I've got here. But I'm also going to need to program it so that if you resize it, it will do something useful. So that starts with, yeah, see, the window might be a predetermined height or width in some DAWs. It might be forced to a different size simply because the window size is not like, Juice will force the window to be a size that'll fit on the screen, I believe. And so I need to make all of the knobs reflow themselves in a way that is still comprehensible, even if they're in a different position now because the shape of the window is wildly different. Because one of the choices that I made is when I do the GUI for this stuff, when I do the GUI for all of these controls, there's like 36 of them. It needs to use relevant kinds of controls for the relevant things. Some of them will be sliders, horizontal or vertical. Some of them will be knobs. Knobs will be of different sizes, but they need to be in sort of little blocks so that they can reflow in a way that hopefully makes sense. It's not going to be like a programmatic reflow. It's going to be go beyond this aspect ratio to this aspect ratio and click, suddenly it's in another intentional arrangement that hopefully has enough in common with the other arrangements that it makes some kind of sense. Like if it's a very vertical arrangement, and I can approximate that like with this, if I made the final one go into a vertical arrangement like this, then it would probably need to be arranged so that it was reminiscent of an SSL console. But then if I was to resize it like this, now I can't see all of my controls. I can use a scroll bar, but that's not particularly helpful. But when I do a GUI, it has to be able to reflow all of those and also resize all of the knobs and labels to fit within this space, or to fit within this space. What will it look like to have 36 knobs inside a tiny little area only this big? It'll look like a postage stamp, but I should be able to have them still usable, because it won't work quite like that. It will work a little more like this. Now these are absolutely not what I've got. Oh, although I will notice that one of the things we see is that I have set it to a random color. I'll remove that now. So one of the things that's happening here is that this is my arrangement for coming up with these and having them be resizable to tiny postage stamp-like sizes. If I make it this little, the resonance knob still moves. And you can kind of sort of see that it says resonance, although see the size of the text relative to the knob? And now see the size of the text relative to the knob. It might look a little weird and sketchy, but it is dynamically being rearranged to try to be sensible, kind of, sort of, in a way, even though this is very much of a crude hack for getting this working. And one of the reasons that these aren't doing anything right now is because I don't have audio going through it. These can be blinky lights as well as indicators, but these are probably also the areas that I'm going to want to color code, so they can't all be blinky lights. Maybe some of them can be blinky lights. And I'm not going to have a crude and inadequate version of the meter built in. We're going to leave that to the existing meter. But yeah, that is, oh, look, it's drawing it on this area. Fascinating. I had no idea it was going to do that, but this is going to follow the same rules. And if I remove the selected effects, boom, I am back to the no GUI version. And so these are the controls I'm going to have to fit into that other arrangement with the knobs and stuff. So I'll do my level best. There's a lot of work that's going to go into this. We're very close to having a finished and working version of meter, because what I showed you should hold me and everybody for the time being. I think it's behaving normally. On the other hand, this is what I wanted to have a look at. So one of the things, this is actually not something that I need to work on right now. I'm going to take another 15 minutes or so to see whether I can even get started with this. Let's edit this section. This is the code that somebody wrote for me, which I wasn't able to get to work. My hope is that I'll be able to think this out. Yeah, you could say, Matthew, that I have been putting this off for ages, but I've been doing useful things in the meantime. So one thing I can do, see it says watch variables, that's handy. So this rescript development environment is letting me run this script, which in theory should be able to, you're supposed to be able to do a bunch of things, but I feel it's oh, you're here. This is Robert Kennedy's script. I was never able to make this work, so today what I'm doing is playing with it and seeing if I can make anything work at all. And we can start. I've got the control surface set up right now. Again, I can demonstrate that by clicking on any of these, and you can see that I've got like my here, let me scooch this over a little bit. See, we've got a pan pot, and right at the bottom of the screen you can see that the pan pot is in fact following the control surface. And the point is to make it so that if I have this particular track color-coded green and move the green fader, it and everything else that I have assigned to be green will have the fader snap to this as soon as I move it, or maybe capture it, I'm not sure, and be able to follow this fader as long as it's color-coded green. Yeah, I wasn't honestly very close to having it ready, Robert. I was really at a loss, but we've got your thing literally sitting right here. So what we can do now is see whether we can make any of it run. Let's start it. I don't think I'm going to want to have this because, oh, but this is going to come in handy. Let's assign a color and see what it does. Custom color of red. Okay, so Reaper's idea for red is in fact this color. Bad argument, get param normalized, number expected got nil. So that didn't actually work, so I probably have to rerun it. Let's rerun it. Nope. Reaper track effects, get param normalized. It's looking for monitoring. Monitoring's not the name of the... In fact, there'll be multiple different things. Let's see if we can get this running in any way, shape, or form. Let's close it and reopen it and see if that helps any. Because bits of it kind of worked. We were able to set a color. The color is not literally RGB red. It is a different color. So I do need to be able to assign that. I am pretty sure that... Let's open it again. Edit. Off we go. So hopefully if I run it again... Nope, I think it's dead until I restart the machine, or restart Reaper. That's unfortunate. Maybe I can recode it. And I do have re-imgui, but that doesn't seem to be causing a problem. So let's go to the error and see if we can do anything with this and make it run. Now, it would kind of have to be fresh in your mind. That, or we can... What do we have to do to comment this, Robert? Is it a dash dash? It is. So if we comment that, maybe we'll be able to run it. No. No, that's not actually acting. So what must we do to... Well, maybe I can... Oh, I know. I'll save it as... That didn't help at all. Oh, command save. All right. That's like Linux. Only maybe it needs to be capital. Maybe it doesn't have any idea what it's doing. Let's save that. And then let's edit it and run it so we can see what it does. And haha. Okay, now we've got it started and it's going to let us do a thing. So let's rechange the color to orange. Orange is FD8008. Now let's see. So if I click on that, what do I get? Can I drag it to something? Well, it didn't do it, but here's the idea. And if I'm not mistaken, when I clicked on this, there was a problem. Okay, so it's telling me I can make it match colors, but they're not the right colors. I do not see how I can... I just right-clicked it, didn't do anything. So I have no current way, unless I reprogram it, which I can of course do. But I would have to map it from hex to floats, because these are programmed in floats. See, it says 10.501. That's not actually the colors we want. We can get the colors we want pretty easily by assigning a track color, setting it to the ones I'll be working with, at which point, okay, it didn't follow that time. Here's another track, which currently says nothing. Maybe I can make it go, well, no, there's only so many colors, and I'm going to need more than just 8. However, I can define them in here. So I could simply reprogram that. If that is, I can accurately convert them from hexadecimal, which is where it says FF, etc., to something else like float. Ideally, I'd be working with hexadecimal here to be able to work with the Reaper colors more easily. White and black are almost certainly the same, but white and black are not represented in Robert's initial examples. Let's see if green is. Nope. So green needs to be 21FF06. So if I was able to reprogram the floating point numbers to an exact match of what these are, then it would say matches this. So currently I've got nothing that'll actually read unless. Oh, no, wait. No, that's not going to work at all. I'm pretty sure that black and white are special cases. Yep. It assumes that they are all colored black, or default color is black as well. I'll close that again. So it's looking for RGBA, but I am being given hexadecimal. So let's close this for a moment. And we can command, I guess it was Command capital S that I used. It doesn't say. I am hitting, maybe it's assuming that it's command because you're not on, oh, here I am, I'm here. Because you're not on a Mac. Let's see whether Command S does the correct thing. Command F for find and replace? Nope. How about Control F? It beeped. Nope, literally nothing is actually working. I wonder if Command Shift? Nope. None of this makes sense, but I feel like when I closed it, it asked whether I wanted to save changes. So here's the thing. Let's find where it's displaying those colors and see if we can get it to display them as floats. Because if I can display them as floats and reprogram them in the script, I can get something to match, and then we can see whether it does anything. And I bet I can add additional colors. What's this? Oh, it's not letting me select. Wow, what a primitive editor. No matter, if it doesn't let me select, it doesn't let me select. Or does it? Yes, it kind of does. Now we've added some more local colors by hardwiring them in like that. It may be reading these comments somehow, I'm not sure. And then there's going to be something in here, perhaps lower down. Oh. Convert double 4 to U32. So, I feel like, let's see. It's making new windows and things that are a little over my head. I'm not really geared to deal with this, but I do have the ability to tinker with things that already work, even if it's only to break them. And so we'll find out. Get track color RGB and hex color. So here's the thing. We don't actually want this RGB to hex. Track name. And let's see now. It's a %. See, when you're adding stuff like this into a really primitive C-style print function, it's leaving spaces for variables. So we have local R, G, and B. Rather than using hex color, let's just start punching in R, G, and B. And that should give us the non-hexadecimal answers for these things. And match preset color. So there's another, usually I don't break things into constant little subroutines in here, but there's going to be either a match preset color in here somewhere, or maybe it lives in ImGUI. Let's see. No, it's a local function. So I would have inlined this. I would especially have inlined this. And we're not going to need hex color because we're not assigning things in hex color. There's no reason to look at it in hex color if that's not what we use to spell out the new thing. So let's see. Oh, command up. Oh, it complained. Huh. What's your little problem? Oh, I see what the problem is. Somehow I missed the comma. There's a comma here. I don't think I need to have one on the end. I could be wrong. But I don't think I need to I think I copied the one on the end. And that was the final one. Every other one has to have a comma. Let's try it again. Saved and recompiled. Okay. It's flowing them in a weird way, which means I can probably... No, I can't. I thought I could make them reflow, but it's stacking them up in some funny way. But Horde Barrage, nope. One problem with that suggestion is it has never seen this before because nobody's ever done this before. Like, I'm the first person to do this, and Robert's the first person to try to do a rescript for it. And it might not even know what rescript is. So you're kind of, anytime you're actually working on something that is new, which I consider the things that are worth working on, AI is not going to help. Now let's see what red is. Ah, okay, so we still need to divide these things up unless we can define the local colors differently. But we do have a 0 to 255 going on. Let's close that. I don't know if I can make it actually, I guess that is as much as I can expect. My question is, do I need to divide by 256 or only 255? Well, let's find out. Local R, math floor red times 255 plus 0.5. That could cause a problem. Plus, I have no idea why I'd ever need to do that because we're never about setting the track color in this. This is only about reading track colors, never setting them. That doesn't need to be there. That's a bit of over-design right there. You wouldn't believe the ways people have carried on sometimes. Believe me, I'm not going to ban you for suggesting that I throw it into an AI. So set track color, color to native. I don't think I can take that out yet. I would like to. I would immediately take out the set track color because there's no reason I would be doing that. It's entirely about reading the stuff that I already set using Reaper's normal interface. So I never set track colors here. That said, here we go. This is something that we can do. Here's their colors for GUI display. Local colors. Are we in fact recalculating, like, am I being given 0 to 1 and internally it reassigns it to 0 to 256 just to be able to function? In which case there's no reason I want to have it start as 0 to 1. That's not the language we're talking. Let's find out. Set color for selected tracks. Yeah, that's going to be a thing where you click on, you have to go into the interface of this, which I would like never to be showing, and click on the color, and you have to use it to set the color rather than using Reaper's existing technology. We're going to be using Reaper's existing technology. Yeah, so, yeah, see, this is the way I set colors. Track color, set tracks to custom color, and these are the ones that I like because they correspond to the number of faders I have available. Like, here's my white. This is going to be magenta, although it comes across more like pink. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, or as close as I could get to cyan. Blue, purple, brown, black, and then this one on the end, which has no color on it, is going to end up being like the master fader. But this is the interface I use. I use Reaper's interface, meaning that I could also use this or crayons. And if somebody wants to use that, I should think that they should be allowed to assign, like, they would have to have a heck of a lot of different faders to use these crayon interface. But if they want to use the crayon interface, they should be able to use the crayon interface. They should be like, okay, so these are my colors. I like these colors. I use this color, and then I use this turquoise, which I like better than other ones. I am not sure if, like, Apple's options, and that's only ones, like, you could use developer colors. You could use the web-safe colors, but that's a very large array. There's a lot of colors in here. You wouldn't necessarily be doing that. Although granted, here, watch this. I can make it work with your initial, if I can find the, come on. Or can I? Oh, I can't because full intensity red is not a web safe color. Okay, never mind. I won't want to use these. These are my colors in Scrivener. And I like the Apple ones because they're basically the set of available colors for things like resistor colorings and so on. That's basically what you use with very few departures. Like resistor colorings, you don't have a cyan. You don't have a magenta. But it's pretty darn close to what you get for resistor colors with a couple of extra ones. And so I assign the track. Now I've assigned drums to be the red color. So where were we at? Where were we? I'm going to maybe stick around for another half an hour or so just tinkering with this, because this is one of the things where it's taken me a while to get going with it. And it's worth getting to that. I mean, I don't mind getting a really sloppy answer for this, but so let's see. So the setting of colors is coming from this, so maybe I should just skip that part. And maybe I can move these in. Does this have proper drag and drop? I doubt it. Somehow I feel like maybe that's not a thing. Nope, guess not. But maybe it has copy and paste. I'd be a little surprised if it didn't have any of that. Pink. There's our red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue. So far so good. And it should also have a purple, so that's cool. Then it needs a brown and a black, and it does not actually, oh. That's where the magenta belongs. And then purple, brown, and black. So because the great thing about this sort of stuff is if I can get it working, I can start using it. It doesn't have to be nice. It doesn't have to be elegant. It just has to do the thing. Oh no, this is just my own controller. I bought this controller from the company here. I'll show you. I bought this controller from the company Yaletex. And you could go onto their website, spec this out exactly the same way that it is, go if you went to the trouble of figuring out how to do that, and buy one today. That's literally how I did it. There's nothing special about this. And you'd also have to color code the original knobs are the shiny black knobs, and you can't see what they're set to, which is not Yaletex's fault. That's just what they had available to them. But I needed to make some customized knobs for that purpose so that I could see what they are doing. Yeah, so technically you can get this. It is accessible, although I do intend, once I've made sure that all this actually works and put out Console X so that people can use it rather than just putting out the plans. I'm not putting this out as available to people until the software is ready to go. You should not buy an elaborate controller for software you've never used. That makes no sense in the world. Yeah, it will be on Yaletex's website. It costs about $1,000. They are not budget. They're a small manufacturer in Argentina. So this ain't coming from China. It's like real wood on the side. This is sustainable type of wood that they're using. And it's another batch of artists, basically. They're basically hardware hackers. And this is the kind of thing they really like. But it's going to cost you if you want to get it. You might find ways of making it work on something that is more affordable. Or indeed try one of the smaller designs that doesn't have all the faders and stuff. But I got all the faders because I wanted to do this with it. And so let's see what we can make it do. I have to find where everything is labeled here. So is it in fact going to make any sense of that, or maybe it'll just crash? Black does match color 9. Ooh, also we have not replanned that, have we? So let's save the modifications and close and open again, because might as well. We'll edit that. And now here's like setting our track color to white on guitar. Aha. Where's yellow? Here we have a new interesting problem, which is that I have in fact made it be able to match the color that it needs to match. Like, what else can we do? Oh, I see. So color of guitar is now that. I can also program, let's assign some of these colors. How about? I don't know where this yellow is coming from though. I don't even want those things displayed. It's displaying a yellow color that it doesn't need to, and the buttons don't make any sense now, but that's fine. So let's see, I've got, so I know white's going to work. Oh, and I need to be doing this, so how about magenta is the next one up, and then red, and then orange. Then yellow and green. And some of the reason I do this kind of thing is so that you can see how I grapple with stuff like this. Like when problems come up and you don't know how to do any of these things, it's like, here's how you can start going about dealing with this stuff. I've got this program up and running, and I'm also fiddling with it as we speak. And we will not need to have these buttons up here for any reason, but for at least the moment, actually they're not doing anything useful for us at all, so we could get rid of that. I'll deal with that in a minute. First things first. Oh, it went away. 251, 2, and 255. Yay. Then 251, 2, and 7. Not 70, but 7. As long as I'm doing these crudely, I will continue doing them crudely. And well, hey, we have it reacting to this stuff. So it's at least being able to recognize, I think it's being able to recognize something. I don't know whether it's doing anything with it, but also it's going to remember I'm resaving this on the fly. So what this means is that if I am able to get these, I'll at least have that part sorted out. And then I also need to remove this stuff, because in no way do I want to start recoloring the tracks based on stuff I do in here. This has no place. So 6 and 7 are green and cyan. Cool, cool. So far, so good. When I next rerun it after having punched all these things in, a bunch of things will say matches color. And that is a logical statement, meaning that it may also try to do other things. Although I will need to, rather than having it refer to monitoring, or I'm going to have to look up what plugin it thinks it's editing, because it's confused and doesn't know what it's doing. So, let's see, orange, 253, 128, 8. These are very much picked out to be pretty looking colors rather than anything really accurately associated with RGB or such things. Like this track 5, 255, 255, 10. They are capable of going to full intensity. Green is 33 to 55.6. So it is slightly grayer. It's not full intensity anymore. Instead, if this is like what I do with meter, where it's doing a full intensity green. But then if you have your brights and your darks both increasing, you can get to almost a gray. I don't usually see that in measuring things in meter, but it's possible. Similar one, 33, 255, 255. And now we start going through and doing the ones we haven't got yet, like blue. And purple. That's going to be an unusual color. Brown, and we don't need to check as to what black is because we know what black is. It is 0, 0, 0. Restart, and now it starts telling us what those ones are. Oh, blue is in fact full intensity blue. So 0, 0, 255. I'm having it be arranged consistently with the other ones. You'll notice that there is a space in front of the alpha measurement, and I'm leaving that on purpose because it's a different kind. It's not the RGB anymore, it's alpha. So I'm leaving a slight extra space in there. Purple, 128, 0, 128. Cool, okay. 255, 255 would have been a very bright purple. This is not. And in fact, that's almost correct. 0.50, 0.5 is almost exactly what it would be. But here's how we call it in this form. And then brown is going to be 153, 102, 51. Double check that's what it was. Sure enough. And I will save it, and we'll close it, and only then will it actually ask to save it. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's doing it. And now we have it saved, and when we fire it up again, or at least edit it, I think if we run it, we also see the little window. My next thing is to make those buttons go away in the little window. But, hello. So we got local colors. These are all being drawn in weird. So I want to make them go away before anything else because that is not making me happy. And only our zeros are actually matching anything anymore. So we've got a problem. But we do have the correct numbers worked out now. So we're going to deal with that in a minute. Let's see if we can make those colors go away. I'm glad 2 tape 7 is still working out for you, but remember 2 tape 8 is cleaner. Alrighty. Master track, get master track, that seems to make sense. Margin effect count, track effects get record count, master track. Huh. I don't honestly know what that's gonna mean, but okay. I'll take your word for it that that means something. Hey, Alex Alpha Sync. The live is just checking in with me, and today I'm trying to work in Rescript, which I've never programmed in before. And we're working with Robert Kennedy's, is that correct? Yeah, Robert Kennedy's script. And the code's very differently from how I would code, so I have a hard time making sense of it. That said, we can but try. Tell you what, we never want to set the track color. So we're going to delete that part. Save it. Well, that just ran it. Excuse me. Let's see whether it actually did that. No, maybe it did. So here's the thing. So this is now all screwed up. It's not matching any of the colors that I know are correct. I've got them spelled out here. Like see blue 00255, but it can't actually make sense of any of that. And if I click on these, it should crash because I tried to take away a subroutine. And yep. So now I need to find that and make that part go away. And that will also show me things about these buttons that I don't want to be there. So this is a good start. So here we go. And here's where we can remove some of these things as well. Like these MGUI is baffling, man, I gotta say. Oh, is it scrollable too? Well, this says color buttons. We don't want any color buttons, so therefore... Oh. MGUI, same line. So that's what this is about. For do end. CTX. What is CTX? CTX is presumably the context. MGUI, next window size, CTX. I'm never going to actually need this window, but we're not going to make it all go away right away. Spacing, separator, and spacing. Actually, that is just more window layout. We're going to take this stuff out. This stuff only works when it is visible. That's weird. It's supposed to run anyway, but apparently it decides that it needs to have a window sitting around at all times. That's got to go. Yeah, these are in MGUI context. I bet if I make this go away, we're going to be displaying this stuff, and it even displays whether it is able to match in this area. Not the button area, because the button area is all about recoloring the tracks, and I never want to recolor the tracks from within this, and so we're not going to have that part. So I'm going to, let's see, Control Save, and see whether it honors, very good, yep. I actually have the original script saved to my desktop, so don't panic if it seems very rude to bash about here. But see what I just did? The buttons I was complaining about no longer show, but now it doesn't say matches color. And that's something of a concern, because here's my actual colors, and here is, for instance, track 1, and it's showing a picture. It's nice that it shows that picture. That part's cool. I like the fact that it shows the color, although I would be able to figure it out anyhow. But it says 00255, and this says 00255, but it doesn't say that it matches. So now I got to figure out why. Let's do our level best with that, because we have our full set of colors now. And somebody who is doing it on another platform or wanted another set of colors that they arrived at somehow could simply reprogram it. Maybe I'll make an additional note. let's see, 11 color set. So that is going to cover that. We'll hit save. Here's some things where it could be hard-coded, but instead it is, I might end up needing this. I'll turn it on this way. Plug into target by, we are in fact targeting the VST, and this is in fact the VST and its console X channel. Parameter to target by controller. Well, actually it's going to be like 36 or something, but that's fairly easy to figure out. Okay, let's do a little test. Guitar, track color, black. It's able to find black. Bass, track color, black. So far we don't have anything else working, but we do have black working. And we're targeting parameter 1, but we're going to want to target the end, the fader. And parameter 1 looks like it's going to be high pass. I've already got a MIDI controller assignment to that, but it shouldn't necessarily matter. The question is, okay, here's the problem. Parameter to target by controller, yes, but we haven't assigned MIDI values to these faders, so it's not possible for it to work yet. That said, we can but try. Actually, no, I'm wasting my time even trying to try. Let's see. So if we run that, okay, guitar matches color 11. That is in fact color 11. If I move fader 11, nothing happens, but I expected that. So we have not yet told it to watch for this controller and these parameters. I haven't got that set up yet. Didn't get that far. So I'm not sure what Robert Kennedy was doing, but we've only got part of the also, this bugs me. I believe that is a simple typo. Got to remember to do the control instead of command, because this is a very Unixy little subworld in here. I'm sure it comes very naturally to those that are out of the Unix space. So here's one of the problems that we're grappling with at the moment. For the moment, or probably no more than another half hour or so. I don't feel like staying up all night doing this. But it's good to get a start on it. Well, you had nothing suggests where you're getting your MIDI controller input. There's your problem. So, plug into target by controller. This is in fact correct. But okay, so in that case, let's see whether it's trying to do any of that. Do we have anything convenient and handy, like, for instance, nope. I thought maybe if I selected it and then right-clicked, I could get something where I could search for places it is getting. You say it's getting the MIDI information from relearn. However, I don't... I'm trying to find the MIDI assignment stuff in here, but I don't see it. So this is going to be another world of mystery. For the moment, I just want to have it recognize some of these colors. It's able to recognize black, but it's not able to recognize anything else. Check if a color manages one of our preset colors. Well, there's your problem. So apparently we do color 1, color 2, and color 3. This suggests that I can directly start using these. I would not be surprised if I could. Let's find out. Because there's where it went wrong. And we no longer need to try to convert this because we're accessing it directly. Not only that, we don't need to make all these local variables, I think. Oops. No matter. Don't mind me, I'm making a bit of a mess because I am fumble-fingered, but that's fine. I'll figure out what I'm doing a little bit, some of the time. Paste. And then this becomes color 1. This becomes color 3, and I don't want to make variables just for that. Oh, I have to put color 3 in here. Alrighty, now I Control S and close this so that it knows that it saves, because otherwise it doesn't seem to save. We're going to open it up again, and we're going to see whether it is able to recognize some of these colors. And the answer is absolutely yes, it does. Yeah, Final Meter is coming out this coming weekend. I will probably not have all of my stuff measured, but I have about half of them done, and so I'm satisfied that it's close enough to be workable. And what we've currently got with this is we've got all of our colors assigned to things. See, we got 2 oranges, a brown, red, and it is successfully matching these colors, which implies that if it's matching those, it can also match the thing that assigns the variable. And then all I have to do is figure out how to make relearn understand what the MIDI is. So far we got colors for GUI display. I'm not even worried about calling them GUI display. That has nothing to do with what I actually want, and I will assume it's RGBA because it says 1 in the end. Although that's... hang on a second. Oh, it doesn't matter what the A is, does it? No, it doesn't, because it's never referring to the A. Okay. Well, that's simple. We may not need to have that field in at all. In fact, I am going to bet you... oh. It honors Command V at least a little tiny bit. That's a mercy. Because we're taking out this, which is never actually being used for alpha, because it doesn't really have anything to do with what we're trying to do. And it doesn't have anything to do with comparing, so we shouldn't actually need to have it. We might have needed to have it if we were assigning track colors, but we're never assigning track colors from within this. This is read-only. Save it. Open it back up again. This might be a cumbersome and silly way to operate, but look, it still works. And that's because we're reading fields 1, 2, and 3, and we're never doing anything with the field 4. So we were able to just reprogram that to another little array, and bada boom. So now what we got to do is also change this, because we no longer attempt to use color buttons, because we have a whole interface that's much slicker that's built into Reaper for assigning track colors. Does it say in here plug into target by controller? Because I wasn't able to find that, but no, I wasn't able to find it. I don't feel like there's a search function in this. It's supposed to have one, but I don't find it. So yeah, I don't. You can say the DAW is not so important if you're sort of like me, old school, and you're concentrating on the instruments. But what if you're using like Bitwig? What if you're using, oh God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I was demoing things in this for months on end. That weird sci-fi looking one that the guy made that I was using. I don't remember it. Oh, that makes me sad. It was so cool. There are DAWs and things that are basically an instrument of their own. And so Bitwig comes to mind because Bitwig has a bunch of wild LFO kinds of things built into it, and it's got a lot of modulation that doesn't work. Ableton is another example. Ableton is something where it's set up for loop-based stuff. And yeah, there are many interesting possibilities at the point that the DAW starts turning into its own instrument. I'm going to play with this a little bit. This isn't what I needed to do, but I don't care because it's something I can do. Ta-da! But that is still not what I was looking to do. Read index and monitoring effects. I need to learn how to assign stuff, but I also want to find out how it's trying to do anything. So, console feedback. I wonder where it's going to show that. Bespoke, that's the one. That's the one. Bespoke, that's what I was thinking of. See, if you find your groove in Bespoke and that's how you're getting your music to come out, you can't just swap in Logic, or vice versa. So the DAW does become its own kind of instrument. I mean, I've gone on about Burial quite a bit. Burial was doing stuff in a basic like wave editor that didn't even have a grid or looping or anything. It's a tool, but it's a tool as in like hammers versus screwdrivers. They can be very strikingly different. And yep, the parameter of the control is actually 1, which is 2 at 0 based. Well, I'll be able to, if I can get it to start talking to console X channel and reading a MIDI input from anywhere, and I do not mind building it into this. Like we can have colors, and then we can have the control be set like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and have that spelled in here. So yeah, crucial that it's not running until it's correctly set up, and we're nowhere near having it correctly set up, but we're still playing with it, so that's all cool. I don't think this makes any sense. It looks like it's checking to see whether the effect's name is itself. So relearn. I wonder where I can... We'll save that. Let's see whether I can find anything having to do with whether I've got relearn or not. Preferences, layouts, themes, no. Track. I don't think it's going to be in view. Project settings? Nope. That's references to relearn are not going to live here. I'll make that go away. FX. Okay, so haha. Haha. See, found it. Now, I guess this has to live somewhere, but does it have to live on all of the tracks that are being used? We've got it. I need to add it to something. So rather than adding it to track 1, let's add it to the master track and see if that helps. Monitoring fair. Okay. I stand corrected. Monitoring FX. Now I got to go and find monitoring effects. That's going to mean me opening the monitoring effects window. I guess that's worth knowing about. If I can get that, I'm going to put it into the script as to where you go and find it, how you use it, what you put it in, and so on and so forth. So let's see, maybe I can find it in here somewhere? No. Show chain. So just because this says monitoring 3 doesn't make it monitoring effects. Looks like I need to go and find where to make monitoring effects work. So, oh, fair enough then. So that's going to be a global, and that means it's not necessarily living inside of this. So, extensions repack, that's not giving me it. It's not going to be track. I don't think it's going to be track. View, there we go, okay. Bingo, got there. Monitoring effects. Relearn. And this is how we're going to assign stuff. And that is getting closer to having this up and running. However, I've got to scooch this over here for the moment because we need to have this back to get actions menu back in order to show the action list and get the script. Why can I not edit that? Oh, I haven't selected it. There we go. So now we have monitoring effects. I guess we can leave it as program 1. And input Yale Text Console X. Now it needs to simultaneously let it go through to the regular MIDI reading and also do this. So we're presumably going to also pass through, but that may not matter. And output. We don't need to send information back to it, so we probably don't need that. Rename the relearn instruments. Okay, I bet I can do it like this. That's where you do it. Yep. I will leave it that way because this is as much your creation as it is mine. If it ends up being a working thing that other people can use, they can thank both of us. So now we've got that. And we're probably going to want to have mappings, is just my guess. But that says maybe. Well, we do have this working. It's not doing mappings of its own. And this is apparently going to be the same regardless of what I do. I have set it inputting from the Console X controller. If I run this, we're not crashing and dying, although it's referring to the thing. Plug into target by controller is correct, but I doubt it's doing anything yet. Ooh, there is a thing that I can check though. We now have VSD Console X channel. Can we still? Yes, we can. So it is not intercepting these and causing them to stop. That's good. That is a labor saver right there. But we're not, hang on a second. Okay, we only have this many tracks anyhow. 2 of them are matching color for. So far, so good. So, let's see. I am tempted to also strip out provide console feedback, but maybe it would be handy. Because you realize this is sending stuff that I want to also hard code in. I have no problem with hard coding these faders directly into what it's going to end up doing. It's going to have them in banks of 4. I don't know what controller numbers they're going to use, but I'm happy intercepting those controller numbers. I don't know what they are, and maybe causing it to do console. We're going to do the same tedious thing of closing it and then reopening it, because I don't know how else to do it. Now we're running console. There we go. We have a console output. Cranking away. It is not registering any of this information. Fine. It's just in this loop. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, it can't close because we haven't closed that. Now we have. So far, so good. I am pretty sure that monitoring effects, we need to do more. We need to do mappings, I bet. I am not entirely sure of this, but I think this is what's causing it to get input from Console X and then pass everything through without touching anything. So let's see. Further explorations are in progress. So the controller talks to relearn. Relearn is passing through information that it's not using. It says let through unmatched events. We are not matching any events. There are no mappings. It's not matching anything. I do not know how I make it start matching things, but one of the things that's probably worth doing, so get effects name, well, that's interesting. I bet that what that's going to do is scan through all of the effects by name to see whether they are the correct Airwindows. And it's up here, is it? Plug into target by controller is the one we want to do. And it doesn't have to be the VST, mind you, but in my instance, it's going to be. And parameter, we're not there yet. So maybe the next thing to do is creating, yes, indeed, making a mapping. I'm wondering whether I can make it start. You know something I can do? We can start messing with fader. And I can just start writing down what all these are. Just a moment. Going off and getting a handy dandy piece of paper. And 12 does not count because we only have 11 colors to work with. We've got 11 things spelled out. So what we see here is the relearn, which I'm going to have it forget immediately. And just as we can turn like the low pass and see that it's channel 1 CC3, we can move fader 1 and see that that is CC40. Fader 2 is 41. We can't be certain that these are going to go in this direction, but so far so good. Okay. These are the mappings we need to use. I have ascertained that. And then we're going to cancel. And hopefully, fader is actually set to be learned. I should be telling it to forget that. So how about we remove that one? This is stuff that I'm still going to deal with. And tell you what, Robert, I don't have to worry about that because I'm just going to wing it and it will show me what I need to do. I'll show you how I do it in a minute. Right now, we are telling the basic setup to not have anything to do with fader because we're not dealing with that. And then we are going to save this as the default controller mapping for Console X channel. And now some of the other ones are probably set to respond to that, but future setups that I make with this are not going to. So now that we are here, we're going to bounce back over. Let's save that again. Oh, it didn't even have any changes. We're going to bounce back over to monitoring effects again. Oh, learn many, eh? Let's see whether it figures this out. Nope. Oh, wait. No, hang on. Alrighty then. That's correct, but I don't know why it's not continuing. Mappings, add one, and stop. So it got that right. I don't know why it says encoder 2. That doesn't make any sense. But we got that part right. Oh, I'm going to be using Reaper Zone Control for the rest of the stuff. It's going to be using both of those at the same time. But it's going to be passing through unmatched events. These count as matched events. My question is, why are you not continuing since I told you to do more than one mapping? Interesting. Why did it successfully do it the first time and then not the second time? Okay, this is cumbersome and bad. This is cumbersome and bad, but it's worth, it's in compartment add one. If we've got that, edit. Okay, mapping. Okay, so it's mapping includes all of the different things, presumably. Let's make some of these go away again. We only need one mapping. It's not on a control by control basis. So let's edit that. Or maybe it is. Maybe we do need to have one of these for each. Let's find out. Where mapping is 1. It goes to a control, but there is no feedback going back into the controller again. Okay, if we click this again, does it learn a new thing? Okay. Okay, so we can set it back to the original one. It is a range element, not a button, not an encoder. The channel is correct. Here's the relearn window. Target, well, do I have my script showing here? Presumably not. Yep, you can see it now. I was trying to figure out whether I could have this do a range of CCs or just only the one. It looks a little bit like I can only do the one, but I'm not sure that's true. Mapping is here. Here is the mapping. Here is the target. Here is the rescript being edited. Could I, in fact, have this available? I don't see it here. It's going to be a different way of doing it. Probably Robert's going to have to tell me what it is. However, you know, we can do pretty well with literally just one thing and see how far we get. And then go on from there. So relearn probably refers to this over here. Set compartment parameter value. Okay, show controller compartment or main compartment. And preset, mapping group, mappings. I'm not seeing set compartment parameter value. I'm also not seeing target type, but I'll look. How about up here? Target, learn, menu, relearn, type. Okay, Good, good, good. So compartment parameter value. Let's see if it says compartment parameter value here. No. Let's see if it says parameter value somewhere. Nope. Interesting. Target type pop-up menu. Huh. Well, I should be able to find that if it's there. Oh, I have used a pop-up menu. This is it. So again, target parameter value. It's CC40. Target becomes something. We've used the pop-up menu. Oh, I can move it down. I can move this down too. It'll be hard to see. We got global, last touched, global project, blah, blah, blah. I'm working on, can I get a rescript? I can move it around further. Let's move it even further, because it's not wanting to show things very conveniently. Although only so far. Geez. Okay, now you can see all of them. So here's the full list. Global, but I don't think it's going to be last touched or anything. Oh, invoke Reaper action? Is that it? Is that it? Is that going to be the one? Because it's in the action submenu that I get this. If I select that, action pick. Fader by parameter Lua, perhaps? I picked it. Now what do I do? Okay. Oh, not that? Fair enough then. Alright, well then, if this is not correct, here's what we got so far. Can you tell me what it's supposed to do if that wasn't it? It's invoke Reaper action, but I thought maybe that was what that was going to be, seeing as I'm in the actions. We're going to be trying to send information to the script. Now, invoke Reaper action, I can see how that wouldn't be it. Ask send message, MIDI send message. Some of the challenge with that kind of stuff is that it could be just about damn near anything. Here is relearn. Yeah, this is why I'm more likely to hard code these things and stuff, is because it starts, the more complicated these things get and the more things happen, the more it's likely to just break on you. And that is a sadness. So I'm not likely to lean very heavily on relearn if it's already causing this much trouble. But we can still use it for this, unless it can come up with another way of making it work. If I can come up with a way of making it work that doesn't use relearn, I'll probably go for it. And this is certainly worth staying up to do. So we'll see where this takes us. I mean, it's not impossible that we end up with the glorious move the red fader and all the tracks respond, or all the red tracks respond. And that would be so cool that it's worth it, because I don't think anybody else has ever done that. And it's thanks to me and Robert Kennedy, who knows about Rescript. So let's see. I'm peeking over. Oh, takeover off, pickup, or, long time no see. I don't know what that does. That's interesting. Nor do I really know whether takeover would work, but that could prove useful. if we have takeover set up and it's adjusting these, but it's not actually the same setting, you'd have to swoop the fader through the setting that you you want in order to get it to catch it and start manipulating it. That's what takeover does. Takeover of off means it's going to snap everything to whatever the end result is. And that's probably fine. We can probably live with that. We'll see. But yeah, what we're currently looking at is ability to read a source, and it looks very much as if we need to set up 11 of these mappings, one for each of the CC numbers. I'm not sure that's true, but I feel like maybe that's true. Oh, interesting. To get learn to, well, can we have it send information to the script in any sort of way? It's only one script that's being run at the beginning of the project. The whole thing can say, yep, 11 mappings. So one thing I can do is start doing that. Also, advanced settings perhaps? Okay, no properties defined, fair enough. I can go through and add more mappings, and in fact I think it will let me track the CCs. And it will. I wonder if I can have all of these on and it'll still be fine. Let's find out. Also, I've set it to not send information back. I think that's probably how that's going to work. That this is how we send stuff to targets, but there's no reason to send stuff back to the controller, so I can just shut that off. Now let's continue adding these one at a time. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is orange, so that should be 43. Good, good. $44. Hope this scrolls for me. $45. I'm keeping a bit of a sharp eye on these in case I get them wrong, because it would be a time-consuming bug to stop them. 47. Learn source again. Getting there. 2 more. And we do learn source. And 1 more learn source for black. Now we have all of these except for we have not tracked this in FX undefined. I'm wondering if we're sending the CC number in there, and we know that we can. Tell you what, let's, rather than have relearn set its own parameters, let's have all of these send to the script, and then we'll catch them in the script and deal with them as follows. And then a little commentary, because that bit is no longer remotely relevant. Let me add that space. Not that space, this space. Okay, so let's do it like this. Here's the MIDI CC coming in, and then this is the track color associated with that fader. And we're going to look for all the tracks of that color and move all of them. So first thing I need to do is update this. And we'll save and close it. And then now we can't find that anymore because the actions window went away. So let's show that again. Oh, and it has to be selected to do it. And now even though we've added an additional number in here, it should still work. And in fact, it is showing the loop. We don't need that target type. All we need to do is pass through the MIDI CC. I don't know quite how to do that, but we're going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out somehow. Oh, and I can't close that anymore. I have to tell it not to be running it. Yeah, how about nope for all this? Parameter to target by controller, yep, that's going to be changed. I feel like that's going to go away because it's just counting a really fast count and it's not doing anything else. It's not even showing those things. So the next thing is to work out how it went away. So how do we send, let's see. We'll put that back to relearn dummy target for the moment. So we're basically just trying to pass through the CC value. Yeah, because I mean, you say that the version of relearn does not have the target type we need, but I still don't know what target type you're even talking about, so it doesn't really go very far with me. I'm all about trying something. I feel like MIDI send message might be good. You mean this list? Or this? Let's see if it runs without crashing. Yes, it does, and it shouldn't actually be opening that. Thought it was taking some of that stuff away. Yeah, none of this was actually doing anything. In fact, it didn't even show the stuff that was supposed to be displaying. Yep. Okay, well, let's save and close that. I can strip some of the other stuff out later. Apparently, we're not even hitting it yet. I'm going to have stuff to delete here. So mapping 1, open our list again. Here's one of the things, and here's the other thing associated with just the one thing. It is not a relearn dummy target. Instead, it's a MIDI send message at the moment. We could do target learn. See, thing is, I have a MIDI message coming in. I'm looking to pass it through. Type pop-up. Here's the type pop-up. I should move it so you can see all of it. That's what we were doing before. That has not successfully made it so you can see all of it. How about now? Yep, that's the top of it. So we do have invoke Reaper action. A bunch of this other stuff is not relevant. Oh, invoke Reaper action sounds good to you? We can tell it to do that. In fact, we've already got it set up to try to invoke this fader by parameter. FX parameter set value. Cool. That was down here. FX parameter set value. Track. It's not going to be all selected. Okay. Legit. See, this might seem sketchy and weird to you, but it seems like it's already sketchy and weird to me, so nothing is lost. Input FX. Let's see. So parameter set value. That's not it. That's not it. So we stopped at set value. Input effects master. I do not. Oh, got there. Effect track master. Track master. That might. Well, hang on. Maybe that's correct. Meaning that monitoring stuff lives on the master track. Interesting. Tick button for input effects. It's monitoring effects. See, you said input effects, but maybe monitoring effects is what you meant. Master, monitoring effects. I think we're doing pretty good. Effects particular. Look at that. Look at that. And then a parameter. This is like an infinite list. It's any number of parameters. Yep. Well, I selected monitoring effects as well. If I don't select monitoring effects, it no worky. But if I do select monitoring effects, we get to single it out. Got there. Do we simply send in param 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.? 1 for first fader. Fair, okay. You know what? We could duplicate these to make the rest of them and change all the numbers, but maybe that would be too easy. Yep, leaving it selected. Does not have track must be selected. I don't know whether we care about poll for feedback, but it's probably fine. Cool. Okay, I can duplicate this on my own. Presumably that is working. Is it in fact up and running? Or is it waiting for me to do something else? Because yep, this looks perfect. So if that's working, do I have any indication that it's actually reading anything? I don't see any reaction. Yeah, I like leaving off stuff that is not needed. We're showing these mappings. I can do the rest of the mappings on my own. Back to action list. Back to first select and then edit fader parameter. Well, I have nothing to dictate that it is parameter 1 yet. But this hasn't broken anything either. So we're just assigning the 40 here. We're not doing anything with this number. Therefore, if we have this, what is the first one? The first one appears to be the color white. So right now nothing's moving if I do this, but in theory if it's going for the first color and I set this track to the custom color of white, it becomes the first color in the list and we don't have anything yet. Not yet. Something would be moving even if it was only the high pass. At least I assume. Okay, so first parameter is color 1. I wonder if it's counting from 0. Let's find out. Magenta was the second. If it is in fact counting from 0, it's looking to magenta for the control 1, but it is not changing anything. Is it going to do stuff if it's already assigning, like right now I've got high pass for selected stuff set to this. Yep, and parameter to target by, okay, well I'll call it 36, sure. I'm not sure that's going to matter unless it will not touch stuff that has already been assigned to a controller. Because my other assignments are still good. I'm looking at the script here. What I would like to do is display something to show that it's receiving anything. So parameter to target by controller, well this was 1. That's not what you mean. This is not being used for anything. Currently we've got that set up as if I was able to pass everything through directly, but this is not doing anything right now. Parameter value 0, debug counter 0. So it's going to scan through these. It's looking for this. Indexes for all the tracks, though it's scanning through all of the tracks and all of the plugins, which is fairly rapid, but I mean it's a DAW, so it has to do everything. Again, my question is, if I've got it targeting, if the other stuff is already targeting it, is it not going to touch it? I've got fader assigned to things already. I just haven't cleared them all out yet. Will this simultaneously like if I was to assign it to something where one of the other knobs was also assigned to it, would they both alter the thing? It would probably be ideal if it did, but set param. See, it should be able to do this whether or not another MIDI controller is also doing it. And yeah, I'm concerned about that as well. whether it's just blocking it. Param value comes from, and I've told it not to show console messages because it wasn't showing any useful console messages yet. Instead, we're just going to bit bang it and make it operate. Well, one thing I can do is see if I can figure this out. We can just count it. So starting at 0, so your original one, the parameter 1 was going to target low pass. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, my eyes are swimming. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. Our answer is 36. And this one does not have fader assigned. We'll tell that to be 36. And I'll save it, and I'll close it to make sure that it does save it, because we probably need to do that. And then I'll take a moment to just go through the rest of these, because unfortunately, I have to check. Thank goodness I don't have a big mix for this, because check it out. Fader is assigned. Let's not have that. Track 3. Fader is assigned, so we make that also go away. Maybe that's it, and if we remove all of these assignments that aren't supposed to be there, it will be able to respond. Because that was a temporary thing that was never supposed to stay. Because I wasn't at this point of actually being able to fool with the real deal thing yet. And we're on the verge of being able to fool with the real deal thing and in fact have it up and working and functional. And that would be wild and exciting. Maybe I'll save everything and quit out of Reaper, just for good measure. So 5, that was this, yes, I've already done that. Let's check. Yep. Six, again, parameter. We're going to make it forget all of these faders. They never really mattered very much to what we were doing. At 6 again, I've just done that one. 7 and 8. And if I have it by default or drag and drop them, it'll have the assignments, including the assignment that's been left off, this one. And the question is, if there are conflicts, will that get in the way? And I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to find out. Learn, fader, remove, save. We'll quit out of there, and then we'll start up again. And here we are. It even remembered what was being set. So set to custom color of black, or we could remove colors. And right now we do not have any of those faders assigned to any of the things. But here we are able and ready to go and do these, and we can go to view and check that monitoring effect still contains, bingo, that's what we needed and wanted. And you know, I am tempted to just duplicate these over again and quickly edit them. I would like to find out. Let's find out. We're probably good. I bet this is running, yeah? Relearn is doing this stuff. Output is presumably sending stuff. Well, it's already responding to things correctly. Let's, as always, remember to start it. We can edit it. We can start it. Nothing is actually assigning to this bit yet. But it should work for all of these, so here's track 2, which is not the correct color for assignment 1. However, if I set track 2 to the track color of white, which was the first one, we're not there yet. And again, I'm still curious as to whether there's anything else I am missing. Oh, hello. Track 1. Oh, 255 matches color 1. That is assigned to white. Tell you what, we're going to set up a couple more of these and see whether that helps any, or whether we've got an off by 1 error somewhere, something like that. So we've closed that script now. Going back to view and monitoring effects. Here's the stuff that I was going to be doing. Now let's edit these things. Main P3 param3 is the thing that we're sending. Doesn't have to have focus, which is good because it won't. Parameter particular, it's param3. And now in theory, it'll do white or magenta, which is more like pink, or red. Ooh, I should have it beep on success. It didn't beep. I'm not entirely sure these are all running. Okay, seems good so far. We're not filtering the source. We're not filtering the target. We're supposed to be setting a effects parameter for param 1, 2, or etc. Back to the script. We get the script from the action list. We select fader by parameter. We'll edit it, meaning that we can run it. Did it? I didn't hear anything. Did it beep over like SWB audio capture? It did. Okay, it beeped and I couldn't hear it. Never mind. Boop. Hit target successfully. I don't think I need to deal with takeover because we're just sending a parameter blindly. I don't think it can do that. I'm not positive, but I don't think it can do that. Not to a script. The script doesn't know what the end control is. So we were successfully doing a set value. That's good. I guess I can move this out of the way. Can finish it. Here we are back at relearn, as you asked. UI button. And I haven't assigned the other ones yet. And I turned off the beep. but it is in fact moving the knobs. So we got that much sorted out. Sending to the correct thing. It is on monitoring effects. It is enabled. So far so good. So let's jump back into here and see what we can either make happen or whatever. Parameter to target by controller should be correctly specified. I've got a bunch of this stuff getting stripped out so that I can make more sense of reading it. All of the stuff about sending things to the we're not doing the console right now. I don't usually do consoles. Instead, I have it manipulate something that I have access to. Ooh, interesting. Is it supposed to be that? And I guess we don't have to declare that, do we? Because if we're hitting this, it apparently doesn't matter or care. That said, the parts that have to do with console I can still remove. So on launch, master track, monitoring effects count. I'm really not sure what this stuff does, but it's presumably getting access to something. So relearn colors. It's supposed to be looking for Airwindows color coordinator. We've renamed it to Airwindows color coordinator, not relearn color coordinator monitoring effects. And I wonder whether there's a problem, because this is now called Airwindows color coordinator. In fact, let's just try that. Oh, wrong window. So if we're looking at the monitoring effects and we're looking for this, it may have been named that when you used it. But relearn index, this is the part that you're actually using to do stuff with. And that would be the offset. The rest of this is just looking for, ooh, hang on. Oh, that part's not going to do anything. Apparently, if you set an if statement to something that literally isn't even there, then it just blindly accepts it. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, no, we've started this off, and then we're looking for the name. But if the name is correct, then it sets this to what actual FX index was, which is something that you get out of this. I'm betting that that was a relevant point. Also, the console feedback ain't helping me one bit, so we're stripping all of those bits out as we hit them. It's causing visual noise that I can't really cope with. So my apologies about that part. And all it was doing was counting really, really fast without doing anything, so that's my concern there. Huh. I don't know how you... Well, these aren't numbered. Line 3 is parameter to target by controller, or plugin to target by controller. Oh, okay, never mind. I stand corrected. So I've effectively just, well then fine, I'll put it, either I'll put it back or no, I guess I do have to have that be there. I stand corrected. I derped it up. Let me put it back. Let's find out where it went. Name equals, and here's where that other bit was. So fx name, you know, I could we could disambiguate that a little bit. Just force people to use this. You have to call it Airwindows Color Coordinator. We're charging ahead. I'm basically looking to see where let's continue in this process of making it so that I can understand how it works. We don't do this anymore. Plug into target by controller. That is named this. We're just going to compare with a text thing that has to be exactly the same way. Looks channel. I suppose the yeah, it looks the same. That doesn't look any different to me. Doesn't mean you have to use the VST, but I'm fine with that. I am fine with that. Although, I could also double it so that if the effects name equals that, and then also if the effects name equals AU. But that's another concern for another day. I'm not sure we need to indicate failure. So current track. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Why is it in quotes, precious? If we stop it being in quotes, because here's what we have. It thinks it needs to use a string. Does that make sense? Because I'm not sure that makes sense. Effects index is a number. We strip both of those things out. I often like having my functions look like this instead. should still work. We hope, we hope, we hope. I don't see why it wouldn't. Well, no, my concern is we're sending some of these things in as integers, and this is a number, and it is a numbered parameter. So why are we sending it a string? That's my question. Shouldn't we be sending it this? And we should be able to bail straight out of there as soon as we have successfully set a parameter. Do not know whether we're using this. Are we using this? We're not using this. Hex was not a thing that I was able to use. I guess we're using this. We are using this, but we don't need to use this anymore, so that needs a quick little fix. We are no longer even having that be there. Oops. That's better. Integer effects, integer param. Okay, so that might have something to do with it. But before I do anything else, I have to change this. This is the one place where that was doing anything. And it's got to be put back to how Robert had it, because my change proved useless and unnecessary. Let's quit that. Why did you just not save right? Okay, well, this is a big thing, but slightly a moot point. Don't suppose it matters all that much. So with that, that's giving us some information for the moment. That's useful. This is all literally part of that same thing, which will end up not actually, like, all of that will end up going away. Oh, it doesn't highlight, does it? Oh, that's a shame. Because none of this is actually, the main loop, I think, is only going to try to, it's not, hang on. Well, I'll tell you what, we've got some of this. We've got the first three colors, in theory, made to operate. Ooh, color 11, huh? That is, in fact, this one. Color 1. So we'll set drums to magenta and kick to orange would be the next one. And let's see what we've got. Here's track drums open. Do any of these move for a little control? Not that you'd notice. Okay, how about if we go to guitar? Nope, nope, nope. And the black one? Nope. Alrighty, so we can in fact run this. Oh, we're watching variables too. Maybe the variables will show us something. Let's try again. A debug counter is racing up like mad, but I think that's not actually useful or helpful. All it was doing was counting. It wasn't doing anything other than counting. GFX, master track, relearn index, set program parameter. Let's, instead of using debug counter for that, let's use debug counter for something else. First, we have to find where it was doing it and make it stop. So where was it doing it? This was useless. It was just saying, I'm in this loop, debug counter. And debug counter was incrementing. Now, where else do we have console messages? Anywhere, or is that the only place? As we really didn't need to do this. In fact, we don't have this. It shouldn't actually even be there. We only have this. And we're showing that very rapidly. Ooh. Hang on. You'll go away. And come back here. And show up here in this loop where if param value, because it should say it matched, and if it did, then we set parameter value. See, I don't know what text. It's doing all of this inside the elaborate display stuff. The elaborate display stuff is not necessarily your best friend, because it might be getting in the way of making the rest of this work. Local num tracks, count tracks, that is all correct. So and if I line these up correctly, which it's not going to make it easy for me because there doesn't seem to be any kind of highlighting, but that's fine. Probably not any pretty printer or anything either. It's fine, whatever. That's all a color button. This is all displays and stuff, which is fine. All this is dependent upon the GUI working just right. If the GUI is not working, then that's going to fail. But Now we have a thing that will show console message, and in fact I can even send it with param value. Ooh, wait a minute. Set plugin parameter param value, but param value is a Boolean. Why are we just sending a Boolean? That makes no sense at all. I think we can do something about that. However, this param value stuff, set plugin parameter needs a real piece of information. It's being given param value, but param value is either true or false. It's not a number. So get color matcher parameter. Oh, here's another one of our missing. This actually don't do nothing. We took that out at some point. That is to say, I took that out at some point. So match preset color. Set plugin parameter, you have to send in param value. Some of this other stuff I have hard-coded. I made it simpler by hard-coding it. So it's going through looking for those, and if it is the correct name, then it will punch in param value into the set param of current track at whatever FX index it is. It's counting through based on that. This should all work, but it has to be given a param value that is actually information coming in. Where it's getting that is set plugin parameter. Set plugin parameter lives here. Param value is get color matcher parameter. Match, which is match preset color. Airwindows color coordinator. I don't see where it's reading any relearn parameters here. That's my concern. Let's see, back to Reaper and monitoring effects and relearn. Here's relearn. So param 1 or param 2 or param 3 should be sending a MIDI CC through there. These relevant ones, they're coming in as param 1, 2, or 3 or whatever. But my concern is that get color matcher parameter match, get color matcher parameter param index, match equals match preset color, like that's 1 to 11, right? So local value, get param normalized, okay. So this, okay, so I think I misunderstood, which is fine. Relearn index and monitoring effects. So I think that may be a thing that I have hard-coded to Airwindows color coordinator. No, that actually comes from here. Started at its nil, and it became this. So it's basically, rather than having you required to put relearn in the first slot, it goes and finds it. And param index -1, get param normalized. What's normalized? That's a question. So value equals that and return value. I'm not sure why you can't just do return that, but that's just maybe. So get color matcher parameter is in fact supposed to be returning a real thing. Therefore, what I should do is use that as the thing that I'm displaying. Oh, but I don't have debug showing. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, what do I need to do to show bloody debug again? I have the original code for here somewhere. Give me a second while I fire this up. You're maybe going to find this a little bit more familiar because this is the original code. Reaper show console message, Reaper this, Reaper that. I think it'll just show the console if I tell it to show console message. So what we've got in here, if it can get to this, it should show it. If param value then, if it matches, it should show it. So maybe there's a problem. Well, there's one thing we can do about that. Copy it and put it in a different place. Now maybe that'll do something. It should at least open the console window, if nothing else. Let's find out. It has not even opened a console window. Curious. Well then, let's try to make it show a console window in some way, shape, or form. Copy. Reaper get tracks, bloody blue. Get track name and get track color RGB. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Didn't expect that. I hit save and it just ran it for no good reason. Track effects set param number expected got nil. Interesting. Well, we know that 0 is probably a legitimate setting. This is the first track, but it claims to be parameter value of track 2. Second one is modifying track 3. So is the third one. Okay, so 1, 2, nothing. So the first two of these are doing something. Hey, beans, beef, broccoli. It's possible. That is possible. Yeah, I know there are a few changes. We're looking at the original version over here. So this is what you started with. Now what interests me is what it was displaying there, because it was displaying different things. We're still not effectively showing console messages. I was thinking it was going to show a console message, but no. What if we make it be in the main loop? Copy. So if we put that in here, do we get a visible console message? Or are we doing something to show the console at all? So when we started this is the original code. And it says like provide console feedback for debug. On launch, except for you've got it spelled on louch. Reaper clear console. So maybe that would be something worth adding. You had it immediately on the launch, so I can put it in as well. And we can clear the console and see if that'll help it ever show up. And then the remaining part is, this is now attempting to set parameters all to 0. The number we're manipulating is off by 1. Although, or guitar, that would explain it. Let's set the colors again. Let's set the colors to match the actual sequence of things, and then go from there. Yeah, so now we're back to setting the actual sequence. These two were in fact doing something, and we can set their faders to not be 0. If it's able to make those faders jump to 0, it's done something. Still don't know whether we're opening the console, but tell you what, I'm going to have it close and reopen. That's the one way I'm really confident that it will actually change something. We'll start it. I don't see a console. I should be able to make the parameter value move. And then 3 and beyond. Oh, we've set that one, but we haven't set any of the others. Like these aren't doing anything yet, because relearn only knows the first 3. But now we close that, and let's go and see whether it's changed anything. It has set those faders to 0. Now let us do another experiment and see whether it's doing all of them. Here's 2 different faders that are white and set two numbers, 0.7 or 0.5. We run it, and it has already set them to 0. Both of them? Yes, both of them. So for what it's worth, it is talking to the program and it is updating the correct fader. What it's not been able to do yet is, I don't see the console, but we're starting to get action without it, so heck with the console. Console apparently is not our friend today. The rest of this is working in its simplified form. It gets smaller and smaller as it goes. I'd like to break this down to inline code. Feels to me like no likey, but one thing, where do we even find that? This is not going to have the kind of coder help that one would like to see. None of our console messages are showing up anymore. We're going to abandon them. I do not know why console messages have abandoned us, but we are starting to see something happening. The interface was reflecting changes from the controller. The console is not showing up in any of the messages, so I'm abandoning it. And tell you what. Well, I was getting a problem where it was sending a nil value. And so instead I told it to send zeros, and the rest of it is working and is sending zeros. Here's where I did that. It wasn't able to manage get param value. Set plugin parameter. Comes from down here, which is not the way. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Your theory was exactly correct. And it is not giving me the right kinds of complaints to have tipped me off to it. See, a C program would have probably screamed and died. But watch this. Saved and recompiled. You foolish thing. Can you see that? Did it hide it? In fact, let's find this wherever we can. Okay, this is never going to go away. I'm going to do this a different way. Action, show action list. We're really close. Oh, I have to select the dumb thing. Go. Now it's showing. Maybe it was hiding underneath the window or something. In main loop, in main loop. Yep, it was in fact showing that, but we don't need it anymore. So presumably you can tell this to just run, right? So that's actually not what I was looking for. How do I tell it to run on launch or whatever? Heck with it, I'll load it up in this and we'll run it just like this. But first, I'll close the Actions menu and start opening some of these as individual little channels, and I can't see my screen. Darn it. If I click on any of these, it'll open them. Guitar and track 6, and then magenta should also be operating. Hang on. There's the magenta, and here's the two whites. This one down underneath me is not actually responding. However, oh, what? Have I not run this? Oh, I have to start the bloody thing. And we're going to have to make this go away. I don't want this window. Goodbye, window. Watch this. See that down at the bottom? It's alive! It's alive! Not only that, look at the other two windows. And guess what? Oh, get out of my way, you confounded thing. This is not what I needed. Okay. Get out of the way. All three of these windows are now set to white. 3 controls following 1 fader. Thank you, Robert Kennedy. Thank you. This is now fully functioning. Or at least it will be when I finish assigning all of the faders to parameters. Thank you very much, sir. Not only that, since the other one is now set up, see how guitar, bass, and... oh, bloody hell, it's opening the thing again, isn't it? If I set this to magenta, and this to magenta, see what is happening is I'm opening the window where I don't want to be. And now these two are going in opposite directions because 2 of them, guitar and bass, are set to magenta, whereas the other one is still set to white. Oh, I've already done so. Here, watch. I will do this once more. I only have white and magenta set up at the moment, but here is magenta. I'm changing them on the fly. Can you see this? And can you see this? And can you see this? And just for good measure, let's open drums. And we're going to set drums to magenta as well, since we only have 2. Only white and magenta are currently functioning. And that is 4 windows on top of each other. It's a little sketchy, but by gosh, it gets there, doesn't it? Gets to exactly the right settings. and the other stuff doesn't do anything at this time. But once I finish setting up those things, assign any number of tracks, and it will get around to adjusting all of them. And then you use like air and fire and stone for trim. Thank you, Robert. We got there. I might further simplify my version of it and like post it to the same thread that you posted yours to, just so that people can see how different people approach the same thing. But this is absolutely functioning and working. And this is exactly what I wanted and needed. So I thank you very much for the assistance with the rescripting. Because rescripting will let me readjust all of these things on the fly. Here, let me set it to the two of them are magenta and two of them are white, because those are the only colors that I have at this time. But all these colors will become available. But all you do is you change the colors, and the ones assigned to white have jumped to the setting of the white fader. But look at them go. Oh, and I don't, well, oh no, I just can't see it, that's all. All I have to do is stack the windows up correctly. Now we have 4 faders. You could have any number of faders assigned to different colors, and they would all be following what I did with it on the controls. And that is Airwindows Console X operating Reaper. Oh, interesting. Reaper needs to be assigned. Reaper needs to be in the foreground. I have just clicked away from Reaper. Now I click back to the fader by parameter script, and it's up and running. And we have these various faders being manipulated. But as soon as I switch away from Reaper in the foreground, it's not actually doing it anymore. So that's a thought. Because if, granted, the rest of it is in offline. So I wonder if I hit play, and it may be sending to FWB audio capture. Okay, if it's playing, it still works. I'll set to display overlay. See, I've got OBS in the foreground. If it is playing, it'll still work. If I stop playing, it'll work as long as it's in the foreground. As soon as Reaper is in the background, it will not respond. But still, all things considered, this is a momentous day. This is very cool. So let me close some of this stuff up, because I'm satisfied that, well, actually, I say that I'm satisfied with this, but am I really? I'm going to want to get rid of this window because I don't need it no more. But that's a simple task. Let's set the hardware output to something I can hear. But not SWB audio. Let's hear it over the speakers, shall we? And let's have all the drums together on white and all of the instruments together on magenta. And this doesn't have anything actually on it, so we can actually just set those to default, which I believe is not going to be black, or will it be? Well, I'm not running it now. And show the action list. Run the script. There's our little window. So that is set to black. But it's actually set to off, so it doesn't respond. However, if I tell it, rather than being default, to be in fact, no, I don't, because I haven't got it responding to black yet. Okay, so I can't find that out yet. That's fine. But without any of this up and running, so drums are on the white fader. There's two tracks, but they're both on the same fader. The guitar and bass are both on the magenta fader. So if I was setting up a mix like this and it was like, okay, all the drums need to become a little bit louder, or a little bit quieter, you just start assigning things to colors and then manipulating them using the colors. Cool, cool. So I actually had dinner already, because dinner for me was a pizza. But I also like lift weights before going to bed, so I should go off and do that. But a very cool and illustrious day, of which I believe I am going to do the final little updates on those. But again, thanks, Robert, doing the initial work for getting that together and being patient with me while I stripped things out and jerked around with it like mad and whipped it into shape for what I wanted to get from it. I'm probably going to strip it even further and have it be like a headless program that simply runs and doesn't have the window, because I no longer need to use the window if it does its job. So, which is not to say that you couldn't do useful things with the window, but remember that my whole purpose there was to have it not be setting colors, but reading the colors that were pre-specified. And assuming there's ways of dealing with the stuff that needs to be done, maybe by having it be more optional as far as whether it opens a window to do anything at all, then we'll figure out a way of, I'll figure out a way of doing it. But yeah, it is a so Chill, the question that you're asking, Console X is software I'm developing. It's fairly well developed, but it needs a great deal of GUI interface. But I'm going to be using it with this controller. And this controller I did not build. It is a controller from a company called Yaletex, and I specified where all these knobs and things go. Here, I can even turn on a light. I specified where all these knobs and controls and things go. And what it does is it translates all of these things into the 36 different controls that I have on the software. Sebastian, I am not sure. And all of these controls operate on whatever the selected track is. So you select a track and then you can manipulate all of these things for whatever the selected track is. But at the same time, the actual fader in the plugin, which is yet another control on the plugin. It's like 1 to 35 is all of this stuff. 36 is the fader, and the fader reads these, and if you assign the track in Reaper to a color, like for instance, say, here's the, oh, you can't see it properly. Let me move it back. So here's Reaper. Here's a bunch of controls and things. So if we see, it pops this open. And since this is assigned, if I move this low mid control, you can see some of those start wiggling around and going crazy, because you can manipulate these controls using this stuff like these joysticks and these knobs and these sliders, do these things and so on and so forth. All of that functions in that way. But then you can also go, and it won't do it right now, but we've assigned the guitar to green. And then you move the green fader, and the fader inside the plugin goes to whatever this nice long throw fader goes to. But then you assign this, which is another guitar, also to green, and you can balance them between each other using some of these other controls. But then now both of those ride on this one fader. It's like making subgroups on the fly by track color alone. And not only that, there's some funny additional details. For instance, oh, hello. If you have plugins from me, which are GUI plugins, and you assign them to a track, they can be color-coded to the track. This is already functional on Meter. If you have multiple instances of Meter, and they are like, here, I'll drag this over to this. Now I've got two meters. One of them is on this track that's not doing anything, and one of them is on bass. And the one that's on bass is showing only the bass track, and it's color-coded to the color of the bass track. And you can get it to stop scrolling if you want, or you can just keep it rolling. All of my plugins are going to be doing that, so anything that I do with the GUI in it will take the color of the track color, and then that track color is also going to respond, the fader part of it will respond to the fader on the control surface. So no matter how many things you set up to be green, like suppose you do 1 million different guitar tracks, and oh, now we have too many guitar tracks, they're all too loud. Mute, now they are all quieter. That's the idea here. So I'm hoping this is going to be pretty cool, and I'm very excited that with the help of Robert, I got the beginnings of this up and running. The rest of it is basically just busy work on my end, and it makes it all the more exciting for getting console actually together, because again, like I said, I've got it in a form like this, where I can do stuff with it. Here's those ones on the top are responding to adjustments there. I can use my control surface with it. I have actually got, if you look very carefully, this setting in the middle here is mapped to a control 2. So the other controls are connected. Oh, no, Robert. No, the entire bank of controls is adjusting whichever console X you have selected. Like, here's guitar, here's bass, here's drums. See how high pass and low pass well, you can't see them. See how high pass and low pass up at the very top are set quite low? Well, if I have guitar set and I set the low pass to quite high, and then I switch over to bass, see, I haven't adjusted that one. Go back to it, and the low pass is quite high. Go to the bass. It is actually set so that I have to sweep back and capture it. Boop. And then I can do a low pass on the bass, or I can set it back off, back over to guitar, and the guitar is still set to the low pass that I had the guitar on. Same for all of the other controls. Everything over here, up in the top here, is going to follow that behavior. So what you do is you select the track that you want. I don't know if you can select multiple tracks. Let's find out. So drums and kick, low pass and high pass. So if you are selecting both of them, see, we don't, now the low pass and high pass are not the same, but you can in fact select multiple ones, and the ones that you move and intercept what's been changed. See high mid, how high mid frequency is different for each of them. If I select both and then move around the high mid until it captures both and then put them to lower down, I have just ganged the setting for both of those tracks. This is a way that you could set a whole bank of, say, guitar tracks to be the same settings, and that's cool. And then again, you assign the faders using the track coloring. And again, since it's a console system, you don't actually touch these faders. These faders you leave alone. You do it within the faders inside console because that's how it's always worked, is it's doing a pre-distortion and anti-distortion thing. So yeah, the other controls are connected to as many of these as are selected. And I've got Reaper set to open and show me what's being manipulated. But I could actually not do that and just be completely blind to what's happening. But it is in fact showing me and updating to whichever one is selected. But it turns out, if I select multiple things, I don't think I can select non-contiguous things. Nope, doesn't look like it. Unless control click or something? No. Option click, command click. Ooh, maybe that's it. Ooh, command click. Okay, so now I've got track 5 and guitar. And we're going to set the high pass and low pass all the way up. Let's see if the command click thing selects non-contiguous tracks. They're not set all the way up on any of these other tracks, but on guitar and track 5, yeah. You can select non-contiguous tracks, just like you would shift click to select a band of tracks. In fact, probably command click is better for that. So cool. I am enjoying Reaper for this, and I am enjoying all of these options. And yeah, it's all about the stuff that you select. You get to use all these controls on, all of the control surface stuff, which is a good way of doing this with. But then the stuff, and it's any combination, like you could select any combination of colors or whatever and manipulate the tones. I'm assuming if you have lots of stuff selected at once, you want it to all be the same. But then at the same time, it's going to be listening to what you've got going on in the faders. And if you have all your faders set up, we'll probably have it set up so that it's like basically roughly in the middle setting, and then you just assign colors to things and fool with the color rather than having to fool with adjusting the faders on multiple things. You're just like, okay, let's assign these two guitars and this tambourine all to red. And then they all get louder, they all get quieter. And that would be how to sort of hack together. Like once I get this set up, it'll be time to start remixing some of my stuff and going hog wild with that. And that's going to be pretty exciting. Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. I gave up on being worried about having too many viewers because that used to be something I got all hung up about, and there's no point. But yeah, things are looking interesting, and I hope you folks enjoy Meter, which is coming this coming weekend. And yes, it is this version with the little color tone thing going on. I think I've set everything to not be associated with that anymore. But yeah, it's got this color thing going on. And you know, there's a purpose for that too. Like, whoop. See, now it's telling me that it's all bassy as heck and also distorting. So we'll dial that back a little bit. And our high mid. And if I pull it back, I go back to the bassiness. But I can add as much as I want to get sort of that snarl there. And that meter is only on the bass track. See, that's why it says bass on it. And is the color of the bass. So I could also set it to a different color. And then the window also changes color. And all of my GUI stuff is going to do that as well. So it's all going to be very exciting when it's all sorted out. It's definitely going to be a mind-blowing experience of all kinds of wackiness. But until then, this has been a very satisfying afternoon / evening / oh my god, it's almost 8. And I'll talk to you later, and I will see you folks on this weekend when I put out Meter. And by the way, the version of Meter that you have now already does that name, the track name, and color stuff. You're welcome. Bye-bye.